Hey everyone, how are you? Happy Thursday. This is Dana Magnus of Dana Magnus Photography, and we've got Lita Bunting here.
Hi, everybody.
Hey. So today we are going to have our finale of our three-part series. It is called Managing Photo Overwhelm and helping you to really think about a longer-term sustainable plan to organize your photos as you move into the new year, or just to get some ideas and get some inspiration and tips on how to do something awesome with all of your photos. Lita, what do you think about the idea of organizing photos? I know it's kind of your thing.
It is my thing, but I've got to admit, it's overwhelming. When I think about organizing my own photos, which, I go in phases of being all in, rolling up my sleeves and getting things completely done. And then I fall off because, well, life gets in the way. And I completely understand when someone comes up to me and says, my photos stress me out. I don't know what to do with them. I can't find what I'm looking for. I'm completely overwhelmed. And I hear you, and I'm right there with you. Like, just because I do this for a living doesn't mean that I don't empathize or I don't understand. I get it because we all do it. And the way I approach client projects is different than the way I approach my own, because my own, it's personal and it's messy, and I don't have my, work hat on. So I get it. And I've got some great ideas to talk with you and everybody about today. And I think that we can all embrace this and say, okay, as the new year comes in, let's put a plan in place and have some good actionable goals, and ways to not be overwhelmed. We could do this together.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think when I first started in 2009, 2008, 2009 with photography, like seriously for other people, it was like that first folder I had to figure out, where does it go? Is it on the desktop of my computer? Am I getting hard drives? Like, you get like in that state of panic when you're like, okay, what are we doing and what are we going to commit to? And then if I'm going to be committing to this process and this whole thing, is it going to work for me? And can I grow it? Is it sustainable? So over the years, I've made all the mistakes. I've done all the things on my computer, off my computer, on cloud-based storage, you name it. It
Mhm.
is an overwhelming process, and we're here to really help break it down for you and make sure that especially when you work with a professional photographer, the file sizes are massive. Or if you're working with Lita, in her case of just like maybe a long-term span of photos, it's a lot of moving parts, a lot of little folders, a lot of little ways to just like place things. So we can't wait to dive in. We're not going to give you everything because we can be here for 10 weeks if we really go into the deep weeds of it. But I want you at least to have a sense of a plan, so then you can feel comfortable going into a new year knowing that you're going to be taking a lot more photos, you're going to be hiring people for more photos, and you at least can breathe knowing that you have an idea of how you want to structure this. So Lita, go ahead and kick it off for us. What is, I think, one of the biggest, kind of a little step by step on how to really break this down? I think maybe in a monthly, a quarterly way. Like, what is your biggest go-to when it comes to taking on a project, and maybe a high level of how to create the plan?
So I'm going to start with our devices, because that's where a lot of our photos live. And I'm not talking the hard drive devices. I'm talking the ones that are in our hands all the time. So we have the ability, when we're waiting in line at the post office or waiting in the carpool line to pick up our kids, to pick up our phones. And instead of scrolling through Facebook mindlessly, which you're on Facebook right now, so you're watching this, so stay tuned to this. But other times, go through your Photos app. And what you can do, there's several things. The first one, I love hearting my photos, because when you heart them, they can be filtered by your favorites. And the favorites then mean that those are the ones you want to print or put on a wall or
Yeah.
put into a book or put into a digital frame. It means that it holds some sort of special significance to you. The photos you're getting taken by Dana, those would be your favorites because those are beautiful and you want to make sure that you can always find them. The other thing I do is, on the flip side, delete. We do not delete enough of our photos.
Yeah,
And
huge.
that adds to the overwhelm. And like, we go through, or we have a night out with girlfriends, and the waiter takes a picture and he takes 8 of them. You don't need all 8. Pick
Yeah.
the one, favorite the one, and delete the other 7.
Yeah.
You don't need them. And I'm not saying that, your entire collection will either be deleted or hearted, because there are some pictures that I have on my collection that they're just neutral. Like,
Yeah.
they're neither here nor there, but I'm not ready to depart with them, but
Yeah.
they're just there. So those are my top 2: delete and then favorite.
Mhm.
Another really easy way to delete. So on our iPhones, when you are in the Photos app, and
Okay.
you scroll through your photos. I'm looking at my phone right now.
Yeah.
At the very top, you've got the little blue magnifying glass.
Yeah, there's a new update. So when you update your phone, you'll see Photos app is a little different now. So get a little used to it, where they're trying to help you organize it and make sense of it. So now is your chance to get more comfortable with this.
Yes. And so one of the things you can do is you type in, say, today's date, which would be
Yeah.
12/12. And you just put 12-12 and you hit
Yeah.
search. And all the photos that you have ever taken on that particular date show
Yeah.
up. And then you might have some junky ones from 2016. So you can quickly cull through and go, oh, I want to delete these or favorite these. And if you do this every day, in
Yeah.
1 year, your collection will be tighter.
Tighter, organized. I love that tip,
Yep.
because that's something that a lot of people, they end up scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling through so much junk and garbage trying to
Mhm.
find what they're looking for. And I am cracking up right now looking at, like, here's 12/12. I obviously went on a road trip here. There's like a million of the same stupid, like, landscape
Right.
that looks terrible. It's like, how many of this road, sorry guys, my virtual background, but how many of these do I really need? Not a
Right.
lot. So I
Right.
can do that. So the point that you're sharing is really to make sure that we are not keeping the junk, but
Mhm.
also making sense of it. I love that you mentioned, like, are you going to print something? So I kind of have a little overwhelmed too in my favorites, because not all of my favorites have an intention too. It's like, great, like when I go to my favorites folder, do you have any tips or ideas on breaking that down even further? Like, once they're in the favorites, now what? Do they go in albums? Do they get downloaded? Like, I guess it's up to you, right? It's up to the user. Like, what are you going to do with them? And are favorites long term, or are they just this short term way to just quickly organize things, because it has that feature and tool to, when you're scrolling through, you can just heart it and then you move it into a next step.
So a good next step for favorites would be to add significant data to it. And what I mean by that is, and you don't have to do this for all your favorites, because sometimes we have too many favorites, but maybe something that, so when I take pictures, I think, what's the end game? What am I going to do with this photo? Am I enjoying it for the moment right now? Is it going to end up in like my year in review family photo book?
Yeah.
Or is it something that I want to preserve and have my children or my children's children see this photo and know what it was about? And
Mm,
so that's like the legacy planning. Like,
yeah.
we have our photos, and the 14,000 photos that I have on my iCloud account, my kids aren't going to want all of them. But here's a picture of me with one of my girlfriends at a banquet that was the 75th anniversary of the scouting organization that we're a part of. It's a
Yeah.
significant photo.
Yeah.
So it's been hearted already, but to take it a step further, I would add a caption. And the
Okay, how
way
do
to
you,
do that,
yeah, let's do that for 1 second, because there's gonna be a way that, like, I love this, and for professional photos, we wanna do this too. It's like captioning your images and, putting a little bit more detail. I mean, right? Like, location, like, what would be a good caption? Date,
so
time,
fortunately,
location.
locations are currently, being generated in, on our Androids and on our iPhones, because everybody knows everything, especially if you have
Yeah.
location services enabled.
Yep.
But the significant information, like my kids would look at this photo and be like,
Who is
in
that?
20 years, who is that?
Yeah.
So when you have your photo pulled up, and I am on an iPhone right now, so you've got the photo pulled up, there's a little I button in the lower middle section, and you click that I, and right underneath the photo, it's kind of faded out, but it says add a caption. And when you click in that, then you
Hmm.
have the little cursor,
Ah, ooh, cool.
but Don't type anything. This is when the beauty comes in of utilizing technology. In the lower right hand corner, there's a microphone and you can
Uh,
speak the caption. So I'm going to say, Ulana and I at Plast 75th anniversary banquet. And it's on here.
oh my gosh, I love
So okay, so it didn't understand everything I said, but
it.
it got most of it because I said a Ukrainian word in there. So um, then you can tweak it.
Right.
So it's really great because now this photo, if I export it out of Apple Photos,
Okay.
that caption will stay with my photo.
Ooh, so the metadata is attached. And we have this in the professional photos that I deliver as well, as the metadata holds. That's kind of like the a fancy term for saying like all the info and all the just certain details, like what the photo, the camera settings were, if I wanted to tag locations, and I usually use keywords in all of my uploads. So like last night I did a proposal session. I will tag downtown Lamont, the client's name. It was an evening, it was festive, it was holiday, it was an event. Tag my name in there, all those things. Because when I go back to try to search that in my photos, I can search for that particular client
Right.
and all of their photos will come up in my search because that metadata and that information is tagged on those photos. Helpful.
Absolutely. So back in the day, our grandparents would write information on the back of the photos.
Yep.
The who, the what, the where, the when, and the why. And you
Yeah.
know that it was Aunt Mildred's 16th birthday at the farm in, downstate Illinois. And
Yeah.
but you have that information. We don't
Yeah.
we don't have all that information readily available to us. Yet, like we
Mhm.
said, we have the date, we have the people's faces tagged, and we have the location. But we don't know it's her sweet 16.
Yeah.
So it's up to us.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to do it is to talk to your phone. Like
I
you
love
could
that.
be again in the carpool lane just talking into your
Yeah.
phone about these quick captions. And you can do, let's say you did 5 for a year, and then those 5 photos get exported into your legacy folder. And
Mhm.
then in 10 years from now, you have 50 photos that show your life in the last 10 years. And your
Yeah.
kids will have those 50 photos and they'll know what you were
Yeah.
doing, where you were, what was important to you. We
Yeah.
don't need 10,000 photos in our legacy collection.
I love that you're mentioning this because it's kind of like when I deliver galleries for people, everyone wants to see everything. I mean, I do not hold back on giving photos because sometimes they're just awesome. Sometimes you get, like I want them to choose and them to narrow down. But what we're saying is that it is not enough to just get stuff and keep it all because you're never going to make sense of it. And it's not, and it kind of reminds me of I'm sitting in my mother-in-law's basement and I'm sure like within reach because there's a lot of items around. She's got like a little like Walgreens like 5x7 or 4x6 booklet with like you get your remember in the days when we had the roll of film, you had your 24 exposures
Mhm.
and you would get those pictures back. You can sit there for 24 photos,
Yep.
caption them, put a date on them, sit there and really look at them, put everyone's name left to right, top to bottom, who was in the photos, and that's what I'm kind of hearing you say is that we're almost going back to that. Like, get the photos down to like a specific amount that's
Mhm.
manageable, and then take the time to flip through each one
Right.
and make it memorable, make it a reference, like give a
Right.
reference to it so then it's actually usable. And like you said, can you imagine like your kids like for our phones and our even hard drives the way they are now, would you pass it on to anyone? They would spend literally 2 seconds looking at that, get super overwhelmed and be like, "Sorry, all this memory of you is, like,
Right.
almost
Right.
too overwhelming that we're just gonna say we'll pass, right?
Right.
I'm not gonna go through this stuff because it would take them not only months to do, but, like, without any context, you're setting them up for failure in a sense,
Exactly.
right?
And we all have a story to tell. Like we have some fun things that we did pre-kids because we were super cool before we had kids. Um, just ask my kids, and I'm not cool now, but we did fun stuff, and
Yeah,
it's on us to kind of capture our own story. And
yeah,
so doing it through photos, I'm not a writer, so I'm not going to write my own memoir.
Yeah.
And I'm not someone famous who is going to be a published, author with, my
Right.
whole history. But I do want there to be an easy way for someone when I am gone to come in and be like, here's Lita's folder. And here are
Mhm.
the photos that kind of show, her life. And this
Mhm.
is where she grew up. This is her house. This is
Yeah.
her first dog. She played tennis and then she went away to college and then she lived in Lincoln Park. Like kind of just
Yeah.
the pieces and
Yeah.
the significant parts, how I met my husband and,
Yeah.
um, just that kind of stuff.
My
It's
3-year-old
on us
asks every
to
time.
keep
She's like,
that.
"Can you tell me the story of how I was born and tell me what happened here?" She loves stories. So it's like, totally, like, if I could just put those down in a voice memo now, we're so spoiled. We have this technology.
Mhm.
You can make that a caption with that main photo and not even spend the extra money on, like, I have been so guilty on not putting the baby book together. I have 2 beautiful baby books for both of my kids. They're so fun. They're so cute. They have all these prompts, little envelopes, ways to do it, and I'm like, that's even overwhelming for me because I just have
100%.
so much, but at the same time, I'm like, every day that passes, my brain forgets a little bit more detail
Mhm.
on what happened when they were 6
Right,
months old,
right.
6 days old, right? So, if we don't get it down, if we're not putting it in a plan, like, we don't have a plan to organize it, it will just completely overwhelm us, and I
Yep.
wanna talk a little bit about that too, like, from a professional, right? Standpoint. Like I give lots and lots and lots of images, like any session, whether that's 1 hour to a 12-hour day, you are getting close to 2 to 300 images per hour that I shoot. And that's
Wow.
like filtered down, right? I mean, 200 images is a lot when you're thinking about 1 hour or one particular event or one photo shoot. And I love the idea of, and we have this system in my in the platform that I use called Pick Time. It helps you favorite your images. And
Okay.
that's, I tell people, get down to 10%. If it's a book that we're doing, get it down to 50. And people struggle like narrowing it down, which is cool because they like it. But at the same time, it's like I cannot imagine them trying to manage and make sense of 200 images. Like get them down, favorite them, but most importantly too, storage wise. So like let's talk a little bit about that. So I love the system on our phone. I think it's awesome. But also, Lita, you and I were talking before this too, is just like what ways do we want to organize our photos? I mean, chronologically, by event, alphabetically. Like, I have found that as a professional, when I give people photos, I think, okay, this is going to be a deposit that you can, still narrow down, but deposit it into your general, like,
Mhm.
bigger ecosystem of photo memory capturing all that. And I realize a lot of people don't have any of that. They don't have the structure folders on their computer. They don't have a cloud-based backup such as Google Drive, or maybe we were talking even about SmugMug, which is like a photo gallery cloud-based website. But can you share a little bit about what you suggest the best way to kind of structure the organization of the photos themselves? Because I love the idea that we're captioning and we're favoriting, but then where do they go? Where do they end up, you know?
So if you have an iPhone and you have a Mac computer, then the Apple ecosystem is a really great starting spot
Yeah.
because your devices are all talking to each other. So you're utilizing the Apple iCloud system. And so you have the photos, you take it and it shows up on your computer.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a great first step. But you don't want to have your photos only in one place. So,
Yeah.
Homeland Security, not that I work for Homeland Security, but they have a backup strategy for all of their important data, and
Mhm.
it's 3-2-1. So, 3 copies of everything that's important on two
Right.
different kinds of media with one of
Okay.
them offsite.
Yeah.
So, if we were to create a book of your photos, that is considered a backup.
Ah,
So,
okay.
a
Love it.
printed photo is considered a backup. I have a client who is Apple and PC, so she's got an iPhone and a PC. So I organize her photos in 2 folders and albums in her Apple account. So
Yeah.
your photos, your portraits would go into family portraits, and then by year, because you don't want to scroll through. You're like, oh, I know I took them in November of 2023, but I can't find them. So
Yeah.
portraits, professional photos get their own special album, and then everything else is chronological.
Okay.
And then at the end of every year, I export them onto an external hard drive. And
Mm,
she has 2 external hard drives that are exact duplicates of each other.
yep.
She keeps one in her home and one with a relative. So there's our 3, 2, 1. And she gets books. So
Right.
technically she's got 4. And
That's a,
that's, you really want to think about, not that Apple or Google is going anywhere. Your photos, for the most part, are safe in iCloud or in Google, especially if you're paying for the storage, because when you run out of storage,
yeah.
then your photos aren't backed up.
Yeah.
But you also want to get them off
Yeah.
and download them, export them out of Google, export them out of Apple.
You guys
Um,
remember the company Yahoo, right? Yahoo back in the day. Well, Yahoo had acquired a company called Flickr, Flickr. And that was when I first started in photography, getting my first digital SLR camera. I used to go on Flickr and like look at all these photographers, and like my world was just
mhm.
like opened up of like, what is professional digital photography? This is insane. So that was like 2004, 5.
Okay.
Flickr's still around-ish, right? Yahoo nobody uses anymore. Like the whole point is in 20 years, if you're creating a system that's like only on Apple or only on
Mhm.
Google or only on Dropbox, right? Whatever it is, I think Lita's point is absolutely phenomenal because you just don't know and it's
Right.
not yours. You don't own it and
Right.
you don't have any say if they
Mhm.
go under and they're gone and they take all your stuff, even if you paid for it. Like I had an online backup server where a service where I had a whole hard drive crash. It was my internal computer with like all of my like great client photos, my personal photos. I had it backed up on a backup thinking, oh, I'm safe. Well, I didn't read their policy close enough. And this was back in college. I was super overwhelmed. I get a million emails all over the place. And I didn't get all the warnings. So it was like, hey, you have 30 days because your backup or your initial drive crashed. You need to back up your stuff. I'm only going to write this copy for 30 days on this digital backup. Ignored it, ignored it, ignored it. 30 days passed. My computer completely fried. The backup deleted everything. I had nothing. And that is just like, again, we've done it all. I've made all the mistakes. And I still have that hard drive that I just don't want to pay the $400 for a geek to go because I'm like, I don't use this stuff anymore. And my clients already got all their stuff.
Right.
But it's like, some personal photos on there that I'm like, yeah, is it worth it or not? And maybe they can recover it, maybe not, but you still have to pay to like recover an old drive. It's expensive. It's just don't do it, right?
Right.
Don't fall into that trap. But I love that system 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
Have something offsite, have something digital, have something on the cloud, and then have something in hand, which is why I love printing photos, wall art,
Mhm.
books, albums. Those things are absolutely crucial. And like print 2 copies of them, right? Like sometimes you can buy stuff in bulk and then like I love that. Give it to a relative. Somebody has another copy of it. That's a fantastic idea. Okay, we're gonna move on to just like I know we have a couple minutes left here, but like you don't have to do this alone. I think this is Lita and I have shared some examples, some tips, some ideas like how to use your phone, how to use your computer, how to use online like virtual storage. But don't try to like do all this and think that you can just one day wake up and start the system and then fly by the seat of your pants and then get super frustrated and quit. We are here
As a
because
resource.
yes, it's like it happens and it's frustrating and it takes a lot of time. So, Lita, what is something that I know that you have your events and you have
Mhm.
your services, but can you share with us like what's the main how can we run to you in full like open arms? You can
Right.
welcome like help. We need help. I'm
Yeah.
coming, Lita. And what would you say to
Yep.
us?
Multiple ways. So there are people who want to roll up their sleeves and they want to be knee deep in their own photos and they want to learn. And I fully support and endorse that. And I love working with clients hand in hand. So I have 6 month. It doesn't have to be 6 months, but it's good if it is done within 6 months. It's a coaching sessions where we work together once a week, once every other week, or at the minimum once a month. And we go through your photo mess and I assess and I give recommendations, and then you go
Yeah.
do the work. And
Yeah.
so we're kind of a team where I'm coaching you, kind of like a personal trainer. I'm not going to do the workout for you, but I'm going to teach you the best practices and how to get yourself organized and give you that peace of mind of doing it. Now, some people are like, I don't want that. I just want you to handle it. And
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I love doing that. I've had people bring me bins of devices, hard drives, externals, SD cards, thumb drives, log into their Shutterfly, Dropbox, Google
Oh
accounts, and I
my
take it
word.
all and I work my magic.
Yep.
And then at a snippet, I have events, kind of quarterly right now, called Tech and Sip. We do them in the evenings so that we can work around people's work schedules. It's at a restaurant. I max out at 12, 13 people because I walk around and I help people with their devices.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
we go through the settings on your phone or the settings in your Photos app, or I do focus the tech and sips on Apple devices because I am an expert in those.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to be hands-on touching your device, I need to know like where everything is.
Right.
But we talk about security measures, privacy, online privacy. Like, don't post a lot of pictures of your kids on Facebook saying today's my first day of school and this is the school I go to. There
Yep.
are creepy people out there. So
Yep.
I teach best practices on online photo safety.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I do those. My next one will be in February. The date is not set yet, but the tech and sips are usually like on a Friday night, 6 to 8, 7 to 9 in that time frame. And I usually post that on my Facebook page, Instagram if I think about it, and then in my monthly newsletters.
I love that. So please, the website is down below. If you are interested, please get on Lita's website here, poke around, get on her Facebook page. It's all linked on the footer, and make sure that you're on her email list as well. And same thing goes for me. If you're interested in taking your photos from your session and you did not book a session with me, it's actually in the bottom of your contract that you're required to book that 20-minute Zoom call with me, but that's okay. I won't get too crazy about it. But I will remind you, it's a wonderful session where we can sit down and I can show you all the tools about how to start distilling down what methodology you want to use to like what criteria do you have to favorite an image. Let's talk about it. Let's get really specific and intentional about how you want to make your final gallery yours and not just what I thought this event was and capturing it for all that I've seen. Well, that doesn't mean you're going to use it the same way. And I want to have this be a two-way street. And I'm not just going to dump everything on you and leave you to figure it out, because I'm sure, I almost will guarantee, if I'm leaving you to your own devices, you just won't do it, right? It's overwhelming. We're just talking about that. So if you can take advantage of me sitting down with you and really stay in touch with me, I have had clients from 2009, my very first wedding I've ever shot, and we still kind of talk about like the memories and how to use them and like, are we going to do a book yet? Okay, it's okay. I back everything up. I still have the raw images and all of the main like high resolution images. So if you don't do something with it and something happens to me, like we said, God forbid, I just at least want you to have your plan. I want you to know where to get your stuff, how to back it up, and then most importantly, that you've done everything you can to make sense of the money that you paid me, like to come and capture this event. Use it to the fullest capability. And I will help you figure out what hard drive size you need if you're trying to look at off computer storage, or just like an external hard drive. What is the best practice to download everything to a cloud-based service, whether that's Google Drive or Dropbox, directly from your online gallery. And then even Lita and I have a very shared resource called SmugMug, which is a photo, like it's kind of like an online, just independent of Google and Facebook and Dropbox and all the big names. It's a smaller family company. They've hosted my stuff since 2012, I believe. Actually, when I talked about that hard drive breaking, was stuff on SmugMug lived, and it still lives today. And
Oh,
I've
that's right. You can
actually
download full resolution images
raw
from Smug, but
images.
they don't compress them, which is
No.
unheard of. Like Google will compress, Shutterfly compresses, Facebook compresses. Like you get your full size images from SmugMug.
Yeah, they're really focused on
Mhm.
the photographer's interface and supporting clients and photographers alike. And if you're interested in hosting all of your photos on a site like that and coming up with it, both Lita and I are great resources to just kind of make sense of it or help you organize it, create a website for your family or for, your own personal. And I love every night I plug my phone in and it does an automatic backup from my phone photos, like the stuff on my cloud. But I don't want to give it junk. So make sure you delete, like Lita said. We are coming to the top of the hour. Okay. So if we're just kind of breaking it down, Lita, I love that. Let's first favorite and delete, right? Get
Yep.
it. I'm thinking of that little envelope of 24 exposures when we were back in the film days, like get it as tight and small and compressed as possible from galleries from your professional photographers or on your phone. Number two is making sure that you have 3 forms of backup, 3, 2, 1, right? 3 different copies, 2 different formats, and then 1 offsite location. And last but not least is stay in touch with the professionals and the support and the guidance that you need, the resources for, and just to help you so we can SOS your photo overwhelm and use our services. We are here to make sure that you are using your photos at max capacity.
And
So
enjoying them.
and enjoying them.
Mhm.
Perfect. So that is it for everyone. That is it for from us. We will probably do something like this again next year.
For sure.
But stay tuned. And I'm so excited that we got to go on this journey with you. Take a look at our past 2 videos if you haven't already. And please reach out to us. Our websites are below. And we hope that you stay, you stay well this holiday season. Have a great day,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.